Welcome to UNCAGED. Today we're speaking with Nicola Spadoni. Nicola is the founder and Middle East lead of InnovaBeyond. InnovaBeyond does a lot of interesting things, but I mean, if we were to focus on the core areas, it's a consulting boutique focused on digital, HR, corporate innovation, transformation and change management, as well as sustainability environmental reporting. Nicola, tell us a little bit about you and your career.
Okay, of course. So, as you can probably understand from my accent, I'm Italian. I was born in Milan from a family of a little town, a little village in Tuscany between Pisa and Florence, an amazing zone. And I'm 51, two kids, daughter of 24 and kid of 7. And I began my career, the last century. After a few years in the industry, I got into the consultancy. So I began to work on digital HR. At the time was SAP HR, the main tool, the German tool. And it was in the beginning of the thing. Then I changed companies, working much more on strategic organizational consultancy.
Mm-hmm.
Many years in Deloitte, many years in PwC, and 2 years ago, let's say 4 years ago, I moved to Dubai, from Milan to Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm based now. And 2 years ago, I opened InnovaBeyond Digital. So InnovaBeyond.digital, because what we want to do is to innovate not only in the technology space, which is my specialization, but also beyond. So essentially, I've always worked on the HR technology and innovation. But as an approach, I am an entrepreneur now, but I was an entrepreneur also when I was working in consulting. I was startup-ing different business in consulting. I was quite lucky to, let's say, be there in the right moment when, as an example, in Italy, we began to work on Oracle HCM. So I was the first to be certified and to do projects on Oracle HCM. I was called by PwC to open the Workday practice. I started up the innovation team back in 2011. So for many years, I was the innovation director in Deloitte, managing the innovation space. And that was an experience that left a lot of good knowledge, good acquaintances, a lot of good stuff, and that I still put in my work.
Well, I mean, what an interesting background, Nicola. I mean, you're working on some of the most important areas of business right now, and you're also working in an environment, a geographic region that is, I'd say, critically important and also fascinating in terms of the amount of change that's happening there. But tell me more about InnovaBeyond and the work that you and the team are focused on now.
Yeah, so as InnovaBeyond, we are essentially working on 3 streams. The first is digital HR and transformation. So we follow projects in assessing the situation of the HR system, creating a transformation roadmap, following them in this path, and taking care about the adoption. So the typical consultancy for activity in that space. The second leg is around innovation. So as I've worked a lot in innovation, we are running innovation strategy workshop, helping clients to innovate specific processes. As an example, here in Middle East, I've been asked several times to work on the recruiting process, which is a key process for the region. You can understand why, for many reasons. Back in Europe on the learning, but also on the corporate part. So I worked last year in Saudi, helping a big entity to monetize their service. Okay. And the third leg is ESG. So we are distributing a software which is one of the leading software in Europe. It's called ESGEO, ESGEO, which is an Italian-based software, but which is selling through partnership all over the world. And we are, let's say, representing ESGEO here in the Middle East. ESGEO is essentially a tool that helps you to manage the governance of the ESG, so the end-to-end process from the data collection to the reporting, both for the company itself, that for the supply chain or for the investment portfolio, particularly when we talk about banking or real estate funds. This is quite important. So this is the third leg around the software. Of course, we have set up a set of advisory from learning, which is what we are mainly doing now because of the maturity of the market here, to the, let's say, all the advisory throughout the reporting phases.
I think your team is working on so many different areas that are of importance. So I want to tweeze through it a little bit more. So you have the product ESGEO, is that right?
ESGEO, yeah.
ESGEO, SGEO. Okay, great.
Yeah, because it is ESG, and you know that Gia is the ancient Greek name for Earth, right?
Okay.
Great.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And what I understand is that you're helping companies essentially track, monitor, and also stay, I'd say, within their targets, probably for the ESG goals. Is that correct?
Yeah. What company needs to do, it depends on their maturity stage, right? So, and let me tell you, it seems that we are doing many different things, but in reality, the three legs are very much connected.
Yeah, I can see that.
When we do any kind of project, we bring all the three legs into the game, to the field, right? So essentially, what company needs, they need first to understand when we talk about ESG, where they want to go, which is their strategy. And this is a typical advisory service, and we use a lot of innovation techniques. So working on the vision about the future, working about the future market that we'll have in terms of people, but also talents, et cetera, because they have to define which are the stakeholders they have to communicate to, right? So the stakeholder management, which is an essential part also of every technology adoption or technology transformation tool, is the same, right? That you do in the sustainability journey. So you understand you have to communicate to what you have to communicate and how you have to communicate. Very similar to what you do in the technology space. Right. And then you have to define, there are a lot of, let's say, frameworks, all of them coming from the main UN frameworks of the SDG, right? So the sustainability development goals, but there are different frameworks that different businesses can adopt and modify in order to define what they will communicate to the different stakeholders. So again, this is a work where you have to talk with the stakeholders, define priorities, analyze the market, define the right KPI, and then of course, having it supported by a tool, that help the collection of data in a smooth way, but also in an auditable way. Right? Because these are communication that are now having the same importance of the finance communication of their balance sheet, et cetera. So auditors, so investors, they ask to see these reports, disclosures, but also to have them audited. Wow. So these data are more and more important for the market, for the investors, for the reputation of the company. We have seen a lot of damages done on companies by
and I think it's only going to get more important. I would say that certainly the interviews that we've done with folks that work in the ESG space It shows you that there's a tremendous acceleration in the activity. I think there's probably still going to be more work in terms of getting people to kind of follow some of the same metrics, it sounds like, right? Tell me a little bit about some of the challenges that you're seeing.
Yeah, the challenges, the challenges now, of course, are all connected to the regulations. In Europe, the regulation is very clear. Is very strict. Here in the let's say our market is a market of at least 5, 6 different countries, right? So we work for KSA, the Emirates, Qatar, Kuwait. Now Egypt is likely becoming an important market. So the regulation, of course, is not there and it's not homogeneous. So this is the first problem that sustainability managers have here, okay? And they don't know what will happen. Also because when there is a new rule here in Middle East, okay, they announce it and after 5 days it's live, right? This is the way it happens here, right? And the second thing is the fact that all the standards that has been produced so far, they come from the West.
Right.
Well, the market here is different.
Yeah.
We have a market, we don't produce much here. We have a market where of course, we have oil, we have wind, we have sun, we have a lot of company that distributes, so consumer business. So it's different. So I believe that, and I know for certain that different ministries of the countries here, they not only have to define regulation, but also to set methodologies. So to set also, and the Middle Eastern way is for sure different from the Western way. So getting what has been done in the West and applying it here will not work. This is the second issue. And the third issue is related to the people. So we have a completely different labor market from the West, completely different. I don't know the market of Miami, where you are, right? But I come from Europe, where, yes, our labor market is completely different from here. You have to think that here in UAE, as an example, 80% of the population is expat, maybe 90% of the population. So they come here with an expectation of staying maybe 2-5 years. Okay, right. The turnover is quite high. There is no possibility to, let's say, create your roots here, because it's not possible to have citizenship here, right, to have nationality here. So it's, and the relationship, let's say, the relationship with the people and the relationship between the people and the companies is slightly different from what you can see in Europe or America. Even if also there, the relationship is changing dramatically after what has happened in the last years, right?
Yeah.
But here, let's say that it's that from by design, right?
And I mean, you also have, I'd say, societies. I'd say perhaps Saudi Arabia right now is an example in the broader Middle East region that's going through just dramatic change. All of these architectural wonders that they're putting in place, and cities and systems and investments in sports. And it's quite amazing. And you can kind of start to see that they're trying to truly build a new society, the next generation for Saudi Arabia, which is a fascinating task, but will certainly cause lots of changes and lots of needs in terms of HR, in terms of thinking about ESG. So there's a lot of opportunity there for sure. But let me change gears a little bit, Nicolas, and talk to you a little bit about, I'd say, sometimes simplify it, and maybe it's a bit of an American flippant phrase, but what gets you out of bed in the morning? What drives you? And I find that we all end up working many, many hours every day on different topics. And clearly you have focused on really kind of, I'd say, workforce management, but also applying that into broader areas like combining that with ESG. So tell me a little bit about your passion.
So when talking about work, and then I will tell you about something about extra work patience. As I told you, let's say I've always been an entrepreneur inside a company, but let's say for the first time in the last 2 years, I'm really an entrepreneur. So 1 year ago, I was onboarding my first partner, so the number 2 in my company, and now we are onboarding number 8. Okay. We have defined partnerships, one with SGO, which is a group of 50 person that we work with. We have clients, loyal clients. We have also defined, let's say, I created this company with my partner, probably like consultant too, right? So we defined which was our vision, which were our pillars. And then we began to work, and we check in on these things every month. And what excites me is to see this thing grow coherently to that vision. As an example, we are basing our company on 2 main things. First is one dream that I had when I was in Deloitte many years ago. And the dream was to have a company where everyone was a partner, not where everyone could be a partner, but everyone was a partner. So we set up a mechanism, okay, to measure the contribution of each of us, from me till the last one, okay, the last one who has been onboarded. And we managed, let's say, the company following the contribution. By the way, this comes from a book and a software of a professor of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, that called this slicing the pie. So a way to manage the shares of bootstrap startups. Yeah. So this is the first principle. The second principle is that everything we do, we have to do it for a higher benefit. And we put here 2 components. Of course, the sustainability, that for us is very, very important. So all the topics related to climate change, ESG, et cetera, they are important. And second, of course, is related to the fact that innovation, people, and that's it. Yeah. Well, I mean, growing a business and getting everyone on board and committed to those goals, it's an amazing process. So congratulations. I love the phases. It's when you say something like you went from 1 and now you're at 8, I know those steps. As an entrepreneur, I've done those processes, and there are some exciting steps ahead of you too. So it's all great. No, it's exciting. It's exciting. So keep an open mind on all of that stuff. But I mean, Nicola, I feel like you find yourself in Dubai, in the Middle East, at a time where there's tremendous change. Tell me a little bit about what you see in the near future and what you and the team are working on. Yeah, first of all, we are working here in the Middle East, but we have also a couple of clients in Italy. Small projects, but we would really like, and this was the second part that I was forgetting previously, which is the connection with Italy. Essentially, you cannot deny your roots, right? Yep. I am Italian, and I think that if I should do something as a give back, right, that should be related to not only the sustainability, climate change, but also the Italian root that I have. And so, as an example, SGO is a company, is an Italian company, so we are helping them to have a market here, but we will continue to do it for other companies, always in the same ecosystem. And so this is what I see. So I see InnovaBeyond as a bridge between the businesses in Middle East and Italy. Of course, we are not the only one. There are
Right.
much bigger and more important names that do the same. But yeah, this is what we want to do. Also because I think that the approach, the Italian way of maybe not doing business, that would bring me to a dangerous path. But the Italian way of communicating, of creating relationship with people is appreciated here, right? Is appreciated. We click very much with Middle Eastern people.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think of really the growth over the last 30, 40, 50 years of incredible Italian brands that have extended around the world, and also kind of the deep appreciation on things like user experience, user interface, design in general. I mean, it's something that those topics sometimes get ignored, but ultimately become so critical. And I think, obviously the Italian roots of what your business and the company has really can help extend those ideas into what you're working on in the Middle East.
Yeah, by the way, can I tell you something that you made me remind? Once I was in a conference in a university, a fantastic university of Milan, which is Politecnico di Milan, which is a fantastic university, and they were talking about design thinking. And if you think about design thinking not as a process but as a business model, okay. They were putting design thinking on the opposite side of process management, right? Which is the German way of thinking. So essentially you have some financial goals and you achieve them through processes and technology, right? Through processes, technology, and people, sorry.
Yeah.
And if you just shift the order and you put people / experience on top, and then you have money and technology, right? So this is what essentially design thinking is and as a business. And they were telling about a story. There is a famous Milan fair that lasts 1 week in every April, which is called the Design Week.
Right.
Okay, the Design Week is a marvelous event in Milan, where every corner in Milan is full of designers showing their product, technology. Okay. And there was this guy coming from, I don't know, Germany, the north of Europe, okay, asking, we want to move it to, I don't know, Düsseldorf. Where is the head of the Design Week? And there is no head, there is no boss. The Design Week just came out because there were those amazing products, and it started small and it became this great heaven. Is organized by multiple organizations, etc. And so it's not hierarchy. This is the real design thinking. Yeah. And I always find this metaphor so interesting.
I find that amazing as well. I have come across a couple of businesses that have tried to replicate that in their own business structures, and it's tricky. It's absolutely tricky. I worked with a Scandinavian group which tried to do something along those lines where they would hire people. The people had the skills that they needed for the role. However, the people were hired and the new employees then would decide what they worked on. So you weren't applying for a specific role per se, but you were joining a team, and then you would, I guess, find your organic path to what you would focus your time on. And I find that type of thinking really interesting, and something that I think reflects probably where we're going to go with some of the stuff that you've been working on, really this kind of clever digital thinking of human resources, how you combine those with the, I'd say, societal changes that we see in areas like ESG. Nicola, you and I could talk forever, but thank you so much for being on the UNCAGED show today. We've been speaking with Nicola Spadoni. He is the founder and Middle East lead of InnovaBeyond. Nicola, thank you so much for being on UNCAGED today, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you very much for having me, and it was really a pleasure talking to you, Matt.
Cheers.